see people working together and what can be accomplished when people do work together, especially two states working side by side, and also the federal government. This time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Secretary of Transportation, LaHood.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to just tell a little story. I'm glad to be back in Madison, Indiana, and I want to tell you, on the way over here, in the back seat, I was seated on the back passenger side. Governor Daniels was in the middle, Congressman Hill, and Governor Beshear was in the back seat. We were not talking about bridges. We were not talking about infrastructure. Guess what we were talking about?
Basketball.
Basketball, of course. We're talking about Butler. What a great team they had last year. Some of us were at that game. Governor Daniels was very gleeful about the fact that some of those Kentucky boys have come over to Indiana to play basketball. Governor Beshear was bemoaning the fact that the recruiting has been very good in Indiana, and to have one of the Indiana's most favorite sons in the Indiana Hall of Fame with us too. Barron, of course, knows a lot about basketball also. So for those of you who think that we just talk business when we're riding around together, not when you come to Indiana, and not when you're across from Kentucky. So that's the inside story on that, and I just wanted all of you to know that. When I have a daughter and son-in-law that live in Indianapolis. My daughter and son-in-law are both doctors. And when Mitch Daniels decided to move back to Indiana, I called my daughter, Amy, and said, Amy, there's a fellow moving back there. And I knew Mitch when he was with OMB under the Bush administration, and he and I became friends. I told my daughter, I want you to support Mitch for governor, and she had no idea who he was. And after Governor Daniels was elected, my daughter called me and said, she doesn't follow politics that much, a little bit. She said, Dad, this guy is the hardest working public official that I can ever remember, except for you, Dad.
Good answer.
And so I'm grateful to the people of Indiana for putting someone in office. And I say this about both Governor Daniels and Governor Beshear. I've traveled all over the country in the last 21 months, and I've worked with a lot of governors. Some of these governors want to work with us, and some of them decided they didn't want to work with us. These two governors decided very early on they wanted to be a part of making progress in their states. And you're all blessed, those from Indiana and Kentucky, as Americans and as citizens of these two states, to have extraordinary leadership when it comes to transportation. We would not be here today if it weren't for these two extraordinary leaders. And so I thank both Governor Daniels and Governor Beshear for stepping up and saying, whether we agree with this president on everything, the one thing we agree with them on, if we can put our people to work, if we can build infrastructure, if we can improve the quality of life in our communities in Indiana and Kentucky, we're going to do it. And they haven't been bashful about it. So thank you, governors, for your leadership. Thank you very much. And we would not be here today if it hadn't been for Barron Hill calling me and saying, and Barron and I became friends when he and I served together in Congress. We played a little basketball together. Obviously, he was a lot better than I was. But he called me and he said, we need to jumpstart this project. We need some Tiger money. We need your help. So, Barron, thank you for your leadership. We wouldn't be here today if you hadn't called me and said, let's get this going. We looked at it. We knew the value of it because of the cooperation of the two states and people in both states. So, Barron, stand up and be acknowledged for your hard work. things I like about this job is it's very bipartisan. There are no Republican or Democratic bridges in America. There aren't. They're America's bridges. They belong to the American people. And going back in the long, long history and tradition of the Department of Transportation, it has been bipartisan. Because people who get elected want to help their friends and neighbors go to work, build infrastructure. We built the interstate system over 50 years because of the fact that people of all political stripes decided it was good for America. And as we embark on this long, long overdue project, we do it in a very, very bipartisan way. I also want you to know that I'm very proud of the people that work in our department, the people who make these things happen, the people behind the scenes who never get the credit, they never get to stand before the microphone, the people who work, you know, day in and day out, just trying to make things better in the states and around the country. And I also want to point out the extraordinary leadership of our president. The president stepped up within 30 days of the time he was inaugurated, passed an economic recovery bill. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. It gave us $48 billion. And over the last 20 months in America, 15,000 projects have been funded. Thousands of people have gone to work as a result of the $48 billion in transportation money because of the president's vision and his leadership. We've put a lot of our friends and neighbors to work here in Indiana and in Kentucky. We couldn't have done it without that economic recovery bill. That portion of it has been very, very successful. These people would not have worked. These projects would not have happened. Roads would not have been resurfaced. And bridges would not have been resurfaced if it hadn't been for that. So we've made a difference. 15,000 projects, thousands of people working in good-paying jobs. That's what the Recovery Act meant. And it also meant an opportunity to jumpstart this project. And so I'm delighted to be here to congratulate both states and the leadership in the states. And you as citizens should be proud. Your tax dollars are being well spent because it not only fixes up aging infrastructure and an aging bridge and replaces it, but it puts your friends and neighbors to work in good-paying jobs. And that part of it is very important also. So we're delighted to be back and say congratulations to all those in leadership positions that made this project happen in a bipartisan way. You read a lot of stories about all the, partisan this and partisan that and scoring points. Not here. Not in these two states. Not with these two governors. Not with your elected officials. What's good for the people, what's good for America, is that people can work together. And even though people may have differences with folks in Washington, when it comes to helping friends and neighbors and putting people to work, your folks have stepped up. So I came here to say, congratulations. I came here to say, you're making great progress. We look forward to continuing to working with all of you, with governors that want to get things done, with governors that want to put people to work, with governors that want to make sure that infrastructure is done correctly. And the other thing that I'm proud of in this administration, we have done our projects by the book. No earmarks, no boondoggles, no sweetheart deals. You're not going to see any controversy over the $48 billion or the 15,000 projects or the thousands of people that went to work. As taxpayers, I hope you're proud of the fact we did it the right way. Thanks to good leadership in the states, thanks to good leadership in the communities, your tax dollars have been well spent and your friends and neighbors are going to work. Congratulations.